In this video, let's learn how to plug into the functions, not just some kind of constants. In the previous video, we plugged some f of 1, f of 7, and so on. Now I'm going to teach you how to do something more. F of x minus 5, f of 4n, literally anything. In explaining this idea, I always start talking about love. Let's talk about love. So, do you see this function over here, even taking into account this number 27? What if I tell you that there is a function which is a rule? This rule says square your input, multiply by 3, subtract your input doubled, right? Your doubled input. So each function is just a rule. So what if I tell you to plug in some love? That's possible if love is in the domain of this function, which means it makes sense to plug it in. You don't plug love into the function that calculates profit of the business. Makes sense? Or you don't plug grandmothers into the function that calculates how many cats there are in the store, in the pet store. So say it makes sense. You just find all your inputs. So here's my input squared and here's my input doubled. Copy and paste love everywhere you see the input, which is x in this case, but it might be t, it might be anything else. So I already mentioned, you square your love, multiply it by 3, and then subtract doubled love. So this is how you should imagine it. And you don't call it x anymore. You say it input. Input squared times 3 minus 2 times input. If I told you to plug love, you just do it. Yeah, now you can. So now keeping this in mind, you are a superhero and now you can plug anything else. They ask you to plug x minus 5. What's the difference between x minus 5 and love? The idea is the same. F of x minus 5 will be, so don't call it x anymore. Call it, you see this blue color, input. It says input squared. So I will do x minus 5 and then squared. Then it says input squared times 3, so multiply by 3, minus 2, and then 2 times my input. It just happens to be that my new input is not x. My new input is x minus 5. You copy and paste, like in the computer, you have it, right? Some keys you use to copy and paste. Everywhere you see your input, you copy and paste your new input, saving all the squares, square roots, everything is supposed to be saved. You still save it. So all the constants as well. Now you simplify, because it says simplify as much as possible. So you need to remember that x plus or minus y squared is not just x squared plus y squared. It's x squared plus or minus double product x times y plus y squared. That is what we call square of sum or difference formula. Remember it, that's going to be very important in this class. So I'll do 3. Open the brackets, and then use the square of the difference formula over here. It's going to be x squared minus double product, x times 5, and then plus 5 squared. I did a little bit fast because we did it before in the previous videos. If it's too fast for you, review and match the formula I just showed. That's the square of the difference formula. And all of this is multiplied by 3, as you can see. Minus. Now, we already learned from the previous videos how to distribute. So let's do that. 2 times x is minus 2x. Minus 2 times minus 5 is plus 10. Don't forget to change the sign. I'll put it in red color. Change the sign. I distributed the sign. Now, I'm going to distribute 3 everywhere, right? Carefully, step by step, over here. So it's going to be 3 times x squared. That's 3x squared. Here I have 2 times 5. That's 10. 10 times 3, that's 30. And also there's a negative sign in front of it. Negative 30x. And 3 times 5 squared, that's 25. 3 times 25 is 75. That was inside of the brackets. You don't have to keep the brackets anymore. Just to point out. Negative 2x plus 10. Now take pencil and underline the things you can collect. Negative 30x and negative 2x can be collected, and then 75 and 10. The answer follows 3x squared negative 30x and negative 2x is negative 32x. 75 plus 10 is 85. That's the final answer. Put it in the box, not to lose it later when you need to go and check everything after the test or maybe after you finished your homework. Makes sense? Hopefully makes sense. Now, how about new stuff? New stuff. They ask us now to plug 4 in, and the function is different also. The function is still called f, but now it says takes your input squared times 2 and then minus 2, right? So they want me to plug 4 in. That means I'm plugging here 4 in, put parentheses, and then repeat everything outside of those parentheses, squared and times 2 and so on. F at 4n will be, do you say it out loud? Input squared, but input is 4n, so it's going to be 4n squared. Then times 2, then minus 2. Kinda you're almost done here. The properties of the exponent says that this 2 will go both on top of the 4 and on the top of the n. 2 times 4 squared times n squared minus 2. The answer is following right after this. F of 4n is 4 squared at 16. 16 times 2 is 32. N squared minus 2. Put this in the box. This time I will make it green. Why not? Doesn't matter. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. I think you can do it. Maybe pause the video or repeat it yourself and see if you can do it. More 2 examples which look a little bit crazier, but we still can do well. For number 29, f of x and g of x are different functions. Let's do it step by step. So I will call it a and b. For a, they ask me to find f at 5 over x. Let's see what function f tells me to do, because each function is a rule. So this is my f over here. F tells me take the input, multiply by 4 and add 3, then divide everything, take your input, multiply by 5 and add 2. So I will do that exactly, repeating everything. You can even first repeat all the constants if you're afraid. Plus 3, plus 2, I see that, right? I see 4 and I see 5. And then my input x used to be x, now it is 5 over x. So everywhere I see x, I'll put 5 over x instead. 5 over x, 5 over x. And then repeat the phrase again. Input times 4 plus 3 all over input times 5 plus 2. That's exactly what we did. We just changed the input from x to 5 over x. Let's simplify. To simplify, I will distribute 4 over here. 4 times 5, that's 20. So I'll have 20 over x plus 3. And I will also distribute 5 over here. 5 times 5, that's 25 over x plus 2. Still not good enough. They want me to create common denominator. How do I know? I see it in the answer, to be honest. So common denominator for the fraction at the top, that's going to be x. I don't have to multiply anything over here, but I have to multiply by x. Review how to do common denominator if you don't remember. It will be 20 plus 3x, because x times 3 is 3x. The same thing will be at the bottom. It will be x common denominator, and I'm multiplying the second guy by x. It becomes 25 plus x times 2 is 2x. Now I have a fraction over the fraction. It just looks insane and super scary. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you what to do. The fraction on the top, copy it like it is, because the fraction in the numerator of that big fraction, and the big fraction is this pink fraction, will stay in the numerator. The fraction at the bottom, and I will put it in blue color. The fraction in the blue color, since it is in a denominator, should be flipped. It means I will listen to the fancy word. Multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means I'm going to flip it. That's the easy way to explain it. X now will be at the top. 25 plus 2x will be at the bottom. Now it looks much better. It doesn't look like a whole 5 levels of fractions. Now you have a product of 2 fractions. Moreover, since x is not 0, I can cancel out x here and merge all of this into one fraction. 20 plus 3x was in the numerator, so it will stay in the numerator. 25 plus 2x was in a denominator, so it will stay in a denominator. And that is the answer. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Now they ask me to do the same thing with square roots. Oh, those square roots is always such a troublemaker, those square roots. G of x is a square root input squared minus 8 times input. And they want me to find g of x minus 3 equals. Okay, let's repeat the rule. So g of input is a square root. My input should be squared, so I will do x minus 3 squared plus 8 times input. Now I will only need to simplify everything inside of the square root, and I will not touch the square root. I would highly recommend you to pause the video, do it yourself right now using the formulas we already used before in previous examples, which is a square of difference. Finish this example and then run the video and compare your answers. Square of x minus 3 is x squared minus 6x plus 9. 6x came from 2 times 3 times x. Check the formula. Distributing, I'll put in different color for you. 8 times x and 8 times minus 3 becomes 8x minus 8 times 3, 24, not 8. Inside of the square root, don't forget. And the answer follows right after this, so hopefully you finished faster than me. That means you are pretty good at this. Let's compare. X squared stays x squared. Now, I will have 8 minus 6x plus 8x becomes 2 minus 6x plus 8x becomes, interesting, I have different answer. Let me check everything. Okay, I caught the typo. You should be very careful as well. You see this minus sign? Somehow I put it into plus sign. Not a good organizing of the material because this was too fast, so I did not notice it. So change it to minus. That's why my answer does not match. This should be minus over here. Then minus 8 times x will be minus 8x. Minus 8 times minus 3 will be plus 24. Then it matches with my answer, which is minus 6x and minus 8x. That's going to be minus 14x, right? And finally, 9 and 24 gives you 33. And that is the correct answer. Put it in the box. Good job. Good job if you spotted this type. One more example, last one, and we are done. Can you do it by yourself? This one is actually super fast. Super fast. Can you find g of 5 if g is x minus 9 all over 3x plus 3? Yes, of course you can. There's no problem in that. G of 5 means everywhere I see x, I'll put 5. Simple as that. That means it's actually a fraction. 5 minus 9, 3 times 5 plus 3. I'm indicating with colors this is the 5 and this is the 5 that we plugged into the function following the rule. 5 minus 9 is minus 4. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. Let's simplify it by dividing by 2. It will be minus 2 over 9, and that is the final answer. And okay, that was the simplest question from all of these. Definitely, I know you probably worried a little bit about this one, number 29, A and B. But it's all about practice, I promise you. Practice it more, and you'll be really good at this. Just make sure you review the video a couple times, but do it by yourself first. Then check the answer, and then make sure it matches and you understand every simple step. Remember, it's all about love. See you next time.